my existentialistic archaeology. Could I go back to the shorelines of childhood, or do I need to stay in the present world? Is it the feeling of a life in safety, or is it with my fright that I can't control?
In a disturbed world where some people even raise walls to separate us, NEARCHing Factory has given the opportunity for thinking together and from the perspective of different countries, institutions, and different research lines, what will be the starting point to guide the archaeology profession to attend to new conditions, needs, and possibilities of a near future.
So what I bring with me from this factory is the importance of crossover discussion between disciplines and the engagement with and identifying stakeholders and target groups for archaeology or across Europe.
So, bring out archaeology from its academic ivory tower and consider it as an integral part of society and a driver of social, technological, and economic innovation. This NEARCHing factory has brought a significant brick to this construction.
The narrative of archaeology is in the process of being rewritten, and the future is in the cross-disciplinary and cross-sectoral practice of archaeology and heritage.
During the NEARCHing Factory, we raise lots of issues connected to preservation and public outreach, but I'm thinking if we are able to think about archaeology in a way as forgetting and ruination as processes that have also affirmative powers and that are actually very important for archaeology as well.
Sites are physically as much as discursively constructed. To engage with a site should include uncovering the strata of competing representations and claims to the narrative fabric of the subject of study, including those from fiction.
As interesting as critical reflection and discussion is, it's just a pleasant game if it doesn't take us to anything new in the practice.
NEARCHing was a great experiment. We need to go further with the proposals and involve a little bit more the great absent we have, the public.
One of the ideas that strike me and can be put into practice not quickly but quite quickly is a code of ethics for our profession to gather all kinds of archaeologists, academic and field archaeologists and all kinds of archaeology.
I have 19 hashtags. NEARCHing cited interview, cat transfer, Grasca, working group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, Innova, Encontro, 6+6, and moving on, that is coming next.
What I understood from this meeting is the great variability of the social context and ideas of archaeological practice, and the lack of discussion for the loss of jobs and the retreat of academia.
I made only a list of my favorite keywords of these days. Needs, present, future, society, values, data, practice, community, common goods, sharing, processes, guidelines, sustainability, and working.
Archaeology has the opportunity to reinvent itself, to find its way for regaining a social role. This is not a bad news. On the contrary, research is part of our DNA. But we need to do this through sharing and collaboration.
The EAA needs a think tank and a platform for the general debate on the further development of archaeology on a European scale. NEARCHing Factory was a good starting point and a worthy experimental place to learn how this could be organized and done. Thank the organizers.
Preserving heritage is a constant evolving and multi-valued human activity that connects us to our ancient or contemporary past, our social and memory duties and initiatives, and to our creativity.
The potential of archaeology and land art, or the arts, and the community for a contemporary production of an archaeology for the future.
I want to stress the factory itself, the concept behind it, and the possibility to experiment, play, and develop alternative ways of being together.
Archaeologists seem to have a lot of work to do in archaeology itself and in society. And if we don't try to work together more or less as a team, it will take generations to reach our objectives. So, make archaeology great again.
The past, the present, the future, now.
Being confronted with many points of view has been a humbling experience. I see a need for us to all come out of our respective bubbles and remember our responsibilities to society.
The different legal frameworks, traditions, and practices of archaeology in different places are not set in stone and can change. And it does need to change in order to sustain the profession and make archaeology relevant for the changing world.
I guess that we need to react quickly and legitimating our role as professionals, and in the meanwhile, redefining every single aspect of our work. That should be done in a supranational perspective and having a shared long-term strategy.
The NEARCHing Archaeology Conference in Santiago de Compostela is easily the best conference I've attended in years. Also, the best gin cocktails ever in the Atlantico bar. Who would have dreamt of adding cinnamon and orange peel to gin?
My conclusion is that archaeology has to move away from heritage. Forget heritage, be archaeologist, my friend.
Archaeology have a real potential to challenge power inequalities because we are key factors in the legitimation of memories. But we need to decolonize our languages and practices and take into account the diversity of voices to make place to other memories and go beyond market.
Even if we all work in different contexts, what we achieved here in Santiago, being together, formed for me the base of a community of thoughts. And through this network, we have now the opportunity to critically identify, create, defend values about and of archaeology, and openly define the future, the present of the discipline. Thank you.
If we can change the past, we will transform the future. I'm looking forward to the post-it era.
Only a general thought, cooperate instead of compete.
Participation is complex. We are assuming that everybody wants to participate, but we have to be ready to accept that some people do not want to participate or not have time to do it. But once we accept this, can we be sure that those who engage in participatory process are a fair representation of the different stakeholders?
It occurred to me that every working group here that I've heard summarized overlaps with every other working group, and that this realization is itself a product of the NEARCHing Factory's format, so the way the conference has been handled, and that progress for each working group is going to depend on using this and other new formats. We're not going to be able to go back to the old EAA style of conference sessions and expect to make progress again.
First, I'd like to recognize the privilege I have to legally travel in order to have these types of conversations. And I think the way forward is to be open and to strive to find a common and productive language to communicate with each other in this room and outside the room.
And the great meeting of exploratory character of archaeology of today and that for the future, and involved debating the substance, the character of archaeologists as social practitioners, the nature of archaeological practice, and the environment in which we operate.
So as part of my own working group, I came here with a theme looking at shared responsibility and to have that responsibility for our profession as it's taken forward across different sectors. But actually, through Jerry's working group, I realised that my own responsibility to my profession is actually a small step towards this. So thanks, Jerry.
We need a shared common good purpose. Environmentalist Aldo Leopold challenged us to think like a mountain. We can challenge all to learn the power of time travel.
Many presentations today, the summaries, have talked about communities, participation, etc. Yet our working group, who all of us target and try to plan those things, still struggle to fully think through practice and non-practice. And I really feel now that guidance is urgent, and I feel that as a bit of a call to arms.
Yeah, I haven't been that much involved in it. I was just invited to make this working group. But so far I can make reflections of this conference that I think so far has been very successful. And it has been a nice or very, good balance between the experimental way of doing things, as we are doing now, and the more structured parts. And then I have a little comment about development, because I think with a cross-disciplinary attempt to create situations like this, to come up with new ideas and initiating cooperation, it also needs more methods for that. It is not. It doesn't happen per se only because you meet and you talk together. That is my experience from being in different other conferences where you are invited to maybe come up with this kind of works that a lot. It really doesn't happen per se, so you need to have new methods for doing so. Yeah, thank you.
Participation and the future of archaeology, but also of anthropology and other social sciences. The involvement of other people, the public, the community, in our disciplines might also require a general reflection about how much of our authority as experts we are willing to give away to other people, to non-expert people.
A priority. Speaking of participation, I think one of the main priorities is to know who are the people we are going to interact with. Almost every working group states the necessity of targeting groups and the communities, know their attitudes to the past or their social needs. Every archaeological area, excavation project, museums should know their public before planning participative strategies.
My thought from participating in the NEARCHing factory is that start counting words now. Archaeology needs to adapt itself to the near future challenges through a more self-reflective, knowledge-inclusive and public engaging archaeological practice.
I think archaeology needs to connect with social problems and contemporary and real needs. And I think the progress is in the origin.
For me, the most shocking thing of the NEARCHing factory was look so many people working under the rain without complaining, if not the opposite. And doing this kind of art, walking, understanding archaeology, very enthusiastic. So I really think archaeology has a future.
Chaos only means that not everything is predictable. Complexity, the word, arrives to tell us that everything is connected. And the end is just the beginning. Let's walk through this together.
There are many strong ideas floating around the room. So the question that comes to my mind is, why are archaeologists so weak in terms of intellectual relevance? Why are not fully engaged into the cultural and social political debates?